Hey everybody, welcome to Cross County Cardiology and Whiteboard Wednesday. Today we're going to be talking about a different type of hypertension, some pulmonary hypertension. I know you remember from my previous video talking about how blood flows through the heart. We have the right side, we have the left side. Like we said, blood comes in through the body, goes through, and it goes out to the lungs. Comes back into the left side of the heart, and it goes from the left atrium to the left ventricle, then goes out to the body. When people talk about conventional hypertension, that's going to be high blood pressure here. You measure it in someone's arm, it's an artery, you measure arterial hypertension. Just as you can have high blood pressure on the left side of the heart, you can also have high blood pressure on the right side of the heart. The right side of the heart essentially is called pulmonary hypertension. This is a lot harder to diagnose and can often be much more complicated to treat and make people much more symptomatic. There's multiple classes, actually 5 classes, but to break it all in a nutshell, one is underlying heart issues. So if somebody has really high blood pressure for a long period of time, that amount of pressure can back up from the body into the left ventricle, into the left atrium, and then back into the lungs. That can cause high blood pressure in that way. Other one is pulmonary disease. The heart and the lungs work together pretty closely. The lungs do not like having areas of the lungs that do not get air to them. So if there's parts of the lung that are not getting appropriate air or oxygen, the body does not waste its time putting blood flow through that, so they contract. And when those blood vessels contract, you don't waste putting blood through something that's not going to get oxygen. But what if a lot of the lung doesn't get enough oxygen? All those blood vessels contract, increases the amount of pressure. So the lungs themselves increase the pressure and it backs up into the right side of the heart. That's another way. These are going in levels of like most to least common. Underlying pulmonary hypertension in itself. So the blood vessels in the lungs themselves can have some abnormalities that cause them to be tighter and increase the amount of pressure in the lungs. So in summary, pulmonary hypertension is high blood pressure, but in the lungs. Much harder to diagnose, sometimes harder to treat, and sometimes much more symptomatic. It's always something on our differential diagnosis, albeit much less common. So if we start to treat or evaluate all the more common causes that end up being normal, we start to look towards some of the more rare things, and this is something we often find. So again, Pumill from Cross County Cardiology, and we'll see you next Wednesday.